Hello everyone, so a few days ago I was finally able to beat God of War Ragnarok. Of course I played this on PlayStation 5, that's the only place you're going to be able to find it, but I now have about 42 hours into the game. I've done a ton of the side stuff. Of course I completed the main campaign, and well, I'll link my whole playthrough is on YouTube. I did a no commentary playthrough of it, so I'll link it at the end of this video here for all of you to go and watch. But yeah, holy moly. Of course, I am going to get into spoilers when it comes to talking about, well, just getting into this review for God of War Ragnarok. So if you haven't played the game, save this video, come back to it later. But yes, without further ado, let me talk about Santa Monica Studios' newest addition into the God of War franchise, God of War Ragnarok. Let's get into it. So as you all know, this was my most anticipated game of the year. I'm a big God of War guy, absolutely. Franchise has been around with me for as long as I can remember ever playing video games, and I've just always absolutely been in love with them. What 2018 did with Kratos' character and just basically using that trauma, his flaws, to elevate the writing and everything, I thought was absolutely amazing and fantastic. And now that we finally get to explore all 9 realms of Norse mythology, the events are finally coming full circle and all of that. I was very, very, very excited to step back into the adventures of Kratos and his son Atreus. And geez, this game did not disappoint in any fashion. It definitely takes the whole thing of making the sequel bigger, better, faster. It's all those things that you want from a sequel. It does it absolutely perfectly. And yeah, geez. So where to start off about talking about this game is very, very tough. But kind of main synopsis of the story is that it takes place about 3 years after the events of where God of War 2018 left off. So Fimbulwinter has again taken fold after Baldur was killed by Kratos and Atreus, and geez, this game picks up at the most amazing points where Freya is vowing revenge for, again, her son's death, being Baldur. And it's just the opening sequence, and really the full first hour of this game is easily the best first hour of anything. Book, comic book, video game, TV show, movie, anything. This game is the absolute best when it comes to that. I don't really think there's any competition there. Just the cinematography, the music, just again the hype that it builds up about finally fully exposing Kratos and Atreus to the realms, or basically to Asgard, and their wrath is just immediately personified, and it hits you in so many ways that's just, again, to build up the hype amazingly, scare you about the enemies that you're going to be facing in the future, give you enough of a sneak peek of the game to kind of realize where Kratos' story is going to go, how he's still going to continue growing as a father, where Atreus is going to go, where Freya is going to go, all these things, and it just pieces perfectly together, just giving you little hints of what's to come and then sidelining you as the events come through. This is easily the best written story for any God of War game, and that I've played in a long, long time. It's beautiful. It has fully realized characters that, again, too, they just study the flaws, and their emotions come out, their flaws come out, their strengths come out, and all the worst and best times, and just really grow the characters and grow the world in a way that's just absolutely fascinating, feels so true, again, to the writers, the characters, and of course the voice actors do an absolutely amazing job delivering every single ounce of passion, compassion, sadness, depression, anger, revenge, like all these things within the characters. It does it absolutely fantastically. Well, of course, the visuals and everything are more than there to entertain anyone, no matter how much you kind of know about Norse mythology. Of course, too, the mechanic where when you're in kind of some of the downtime moments on your boat, on your sled now, you have a dog sled that you can have in a few of the different realms, having Mimir stories, and again, too, just the characters hashing out Kratos' past in Greek mythology, and now being in Norse mythology, and it's just the history of these realms is something extremely entertaining and very friendly, again, to anyone who, no matter your knowledge on Norse, they do an amazing job just explaining and building up this world through conversation, of course, through the world as you explore it. There's just so many cool things that it does, but I'm going to stick to the story and then talk about the gameplay in a little bit here. So when it comes to the story, again, it's just an absolutely amazing, beautiful, epic story that just builds itself up so perfectly to an amazingly cinematic, just end game level, Avengers Endgame level style battle. That's again too. It's I'm not soon going to forget. I'm not ever going to forget playing it because it was one of the coolest things that I've just ever seen in any medium of entertainment. There's so much to love about it. Again, just from the characters to the action and again, everything so fully realized. The potential of these characters, their powers, like all the powers of the gods, is so good. Their influence, good or bad, on the people of, well, just the Midgardian people who were lucky enough to go to Asgard's. There's just, again, so much that they do is just beautiful, beautifully written. It's easily one of the best stories you will play ever. And again, too, as it comes to PlayStation exclusives, that seems to be the case, and this is absolutely no exception. And I can't wait to see where they take the franchise from here on out. But seeing, like, again, too, just the respect for the history and the mythos of Norse mythology, bringing into the character of Thor, who is extremely dynamic, and there's a lot to feel for him for within the storyline, and have him again to have his emotions explained through Kratos himself, through Odin, through Atreus' conversations with him, of course, through his daughter, Lady Sif, his wife. There's so much there that just really hash out his character and make someone beautiful. Heimdall was an amazing boss fight, and just someone extremely just awesome to again fight against, and seeing Kratos's power showcased through that fight is something absolutely incredible. How we could again to just beat the god of foresight was fucking awesome. I loved that fight so much. Odin is a great character. You'll see a lot of similarities to Zeus, and again to that drives a bit of Kratos's motivation to again take, well, Ragnarok is not a good thing, and they try to avoid it as much as they can. But as things kind of start to come a little full circle, the world's revealed a little bit, the story's revealed a lot more, you really starts to see and feel for Kratos's again to just knowing that he has to do the unthinkable and bring a war like Ragnarok to the Nine Realms. Freya is incredibly dynamic. Absolutely loved her character. Atreus, of course, too. He's learning, he's growing. He's gonna rub you the wrong way in a lot of ways in this game, but again, too, he's just absolutely incredible. Incredible storyline and growth from him. A lot of it gets flashed out through Angry Boda, who I found was a very, very good addition to this game as well. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the characters, but they're all beautifully written, very well realized, and again, too, just incredibly voice acted. So when it comes to the gameplay of this, it just feels a whole lot smoother. There's a lot more things that they add into the game for you to kind of relearn the skills, build up your armor sets again, and they kind of do it in a funny way where when it comes to Brock and Sindri, who again too are absolutely standout characters within this game, especially my boy Brock. There's a really funny conversation where they ask like what Kratos did with the armor that they made him in the previous game, and he just says, "I used it." And just little funny quips like that that are just very simple. They definitely like to humor and saying no a lot in this game, but yeah, so the gameplay again kind of takes those mechanics and you build it from the ground up again, but in ways that feel very, very smooth in terms of finding runes for your axe that'll give you special attacks. Again, to just little abilities that'll give you more strength, more valor, more defense, move quicker, do more damage at certain points is very, very fun to collect and find in the world and then apply to your combat style. What works for you? It's very, very, very user friendly in so many ways that again too you can just really tailor it to your experience, which was very, very fun to again try everything out and see exactly what you like. Of course, with me, I do kind of just go for what I see the best stats are, but when it comes to the combats, the style that I like to play, I definitely was able to fine tune it in a lot of ways through the different runic attacks, the armors that I had, things like that. So it's just very, very fun to play around with, study, and learn. And again, too, there's just so much exploring that you can do in this game. And even when you beat the game, it opens up so many new storylines, boss fights, mini boss fights for you to go around and do lots of treasure like hunts that'll again open up you won't be able to access it early in the game, but the events of Ragnarok will shape the land in different ways where now you can go through this creator to get to the places you weren't able to beforehand. It's so cool. And again, too, I love when games weave the story into the exploration of a game, and this is easily the best example I've ever seen of a game doing that. But yes, there is so again, spoiler warning here, but you do also get to play as Atreus in this game, and holy moly, he feels so smooth. He's fast, he's extremely fun to play as. You have the abilities of his bow, and his bow kind of also doubles as a bit of like a blunt sword in a way that can deal a lot of damage, especially when you level him up in a lot of ways. But the bow combat feels so smooth, again, too, just the way that he dodges, how fast he is, and his combat is very, very fun to go through. And again, so you're able to weave that into his combat when you're with Atreus in a lot of ways, and I just found that extremely fun and awesome to again play around with. And he also has another weapon that he unlocks, which is a very, very cool sword from Norse mythology, which I found absolutely awesome to use. So kind of like how Kratos, you can use Atreus in ways to stun enemies with his bow attacks. There's a way to do that with, of course, Atreus' new sword, which is very, very fun, where it basically acts as Yondu from Marvel. He has the little spear that he controls with his mind. That's kind of what this sword does in a way, where it'll go and stun and attack enemies, actually attack them, trip them up in a lot of ways, stun them, and then you can go in for, well, either you can use, well, there's so many things you can do. Shoot them with your bow, going for quick combats, or again, too, you can use your runic abilities to just deal a lot of damage from afar, or his rage ability, which is being able to shapeshift into a wolf, a bear. There's a lot of different things that you can do that unlock at certain points in the story. It's usually going to be the wolf when you do it, but at certain points in the story, it calls for him being a bear, and you get to do both of those, and it's just absolutely fun, badass as hell, and amazing. And of course, Kratos, his new weapon, well, the Leviathan axe, feels amazing as it always did. It's still never old to just toss your axe in the air, bring it back, and catch it. It's absolutely amazing. Blades of Chaos are back once again, and they feel even better than they did in the first game. They kind of gave it a bit more of a camera angle that the previous God of War games had. So if you really like those games, play those games, you're going to feel right at home with the Leviathan axe, where it was a little tighter in the 2018 version, but now it's a lot more loose. And I found it was just very, very fun to go into the combat with that, and it's very, very good for crowd clearing as well. A lot better than it was in 2018. So the Leviathan axe feels pretty much the same. There's a lot more runic abilities, but again, too, it's still one of the most fun weapons I've played in the game, and the Blades of Chaos feel a whole lot better, and they're absolutely amazing. And also now there is the Dropnir Spear, which is lore-wise one of the coolest fucking weapons that I've ever played in a game. I absolutely loved how it felt. I ended up using it, I want to say, after I got it, it's more than I was doing the Leviathan axe and the Blades of Chaos. I absolutely love this thing. It's amazing. Long range combat by throwing it, and then you can throw, when you level it up to 8 spears, and then slam it on the ground and it'll explode those spears for lots of damage. You got your light and heavy attacks with it, and a lot of, again, too, just the runic abilities that you can apply to the Dropnir Spear. It's absolutely amazing. It makes combat so much fun to go through. Incredible, absolutely incredible spear to play around with. And one thing too that I found was really, really cool is, of course, they did it in the first game, but they added even more on, so is how your weapons will be able to, again, just help you solve puzzles, explore certain areas, get past certain areas. So of course, with the Leviathan axe, use it to break a lot of things. If there's poison towers, you throw the axe at it to freeze it, and then you can walk through. Gears, where you need to hold it in place for a certain amount of time to get through a door, throw it, freezes the gear, you get to go. The Blades of Chaos now have an ability where, again, too, you're able to burn through vines and things like that, to be blocking your path to chests or just other paths. But now be able to move heavy objects by swinging to it and absolutely throwing it down. Also, too, I should mention that Freya is also joins the fight at one point. She finally puts aside her differences a little bit and realizes that her goals align more with Kratos than they would with her plot for revenge. Get to just being used by Odin in a lot of ways, brings her to you. So they both have bows, and Loki, Atreus, and Freya have the same two types of magic that they can instill in their bows. That both of them are so cool, but they really open up exploration and combat in a lot of ways, and it's very fun too when the bosses you fight will have certain abilities that will be weak to these points of magic, so you swap through the two of them by pressing up on the D-pad on your PlayStation controller. And yeah, one of them is basically, if you see anything glowing like green blue, shoot it, and this arrow will basically like completely dissipate that material. And then there's another one that'll add like this bit of a purple rune looking thing that you shoot it, so you can shoot it up to 3 times and it'll grow the size of it, and Kratos can use his blades of chaos to whip onto it, and he can also throw his axe at it to freeze things from a distance, but whip onto it and burn things that were again too just hard to reach beforehand. Or what you can do is you can again too shoot it 3 times to grow it to a certain size, and you can have up to 3 of these runes. So say there's something up there that you can't reach with your with your blades of chaos, shoot one up top, one to the side, and one down to a place where you can use the blades of chaos to latch onto something. Uses the flame ability to explode it, and it'll go boom, 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 and explode what you need to, either light, burn, whatever it is, to get your chest, get the certain paths, things like that. It's just open up the world a lot more. And the Draupnir spear has 2 kind of abilities when it comes to exploring the world, where there'll be certain like glowing objects. So say like there's a big boulder blocking your path. If it is glowing and cracked in a certain way that's yellow, throw your spear at it, and you can use that ability where you just blow up the spear, then eliminating what's in your path. And there's also another one too, where if you need to get to a high up space, you're not quite certain, you can run around to a certain angle, throw your spear into a bit of a latch, and Kratos will basically use it as a like monkey bar to either swing himself up or do a quick little pull up and then jump off on it. It opens up exploration to higher areas, lower areas, depending, of course, what the situation is at the time. But yes, there's a lot more things to explore in this game. Though, so instead of there is one extremely hard Valkyrie fight within this game, but there's a bunch of things that they call Berserker gravestones, where you're hunting old dead kings, and these kind of replace the Valkyrie fights in a lot of ways. They're extremely fun, and they're just these little gravestones that you find to, again, just mini boss fights for you to go through, and they are very tough. There's dragon fights all throughout Vanaheim. Lots of no-near chests, Odin's ravens to kill and free, and a lot of boss fights that'll open up from doing these things. So much treasure to find, lore scrolls to find, so much to read too. That's just very what Mimir can't tell you in length. You can find these, again, scrolls, runes, things like that, that'll just give you a lot more context to the world and to all of Norse mythology in a lot of really cool ways that, again, will change the dialogue a little bit, whether you do them with or without Mimir, with Atreus or with Freya. There's a lot of just really cool things that are able, again, too, just to open up from the world there. And of course, too, I highly recommend exploring, because that's what's going to, again, to give you all these abilities, runes, new armor types, new armor sets that you can find that are very helpful down the line in a lot of ways. I do think that the best armor that I found is the dragon scale armor. So definitely spend a lot of time in Vanaheim doing the dragon hunts, finding that, because this armor is absolutely wicked, and it is one of the reasons I was able to beat a lot of the Berserker fights that I did, a lot of the dragon fights, and of course the extremely tough fight against Gna, the Valkyrie queen, taken up after Freya. Just lots of tough fights that are within it. And again, too, that skill tree for everything, whether it's Kratos' abilities, Atreus' abilities, Freya's abilities are so cool and vast. You should have no problem. Of course, as long as you're exploring and doing a lot of the combats, you should have absolutely no problem getting all the abilities by the end of the game. And there's also for certain of again Kratos, Atreus, and Freya's skills, depending on how much you use them, there will be a little like a secondary skill tree once you unlock it, which could either give you more runic damage, more defense, so just deal more damage through the attack, things like that. That's again to just open up the gameplay a little bit more in ways that will tailor to your ability. So if you really have good runic damage, you could have a certain attack do better runic damage and just have it again to that longer lasting effect of frost, fire, the drop in your spear, things like that. So that'll just weaken enemies a lot more. And of course, adding those two to your secondary characters, your helpers, being Atreus and Freya, is very handy. And I highly recommend not neglecting them and building up their abilities because it's really going to help you in a lot of the fights. Again, too, customizing the armor is absolutely amazing and great. There are different cosmetics that you can, again, too, find from unlocking their, again, too, just by upgrading them, you'll unlock different cosmetics. So if you don't like the certain style, certain color palettes of it, there are certain types that you can, again, customize the appearance a little bit to not have Kratos look too ugly in terms of the different colors between the different armor sets that you have on as you're kind of grinding up, finding the exact armors that you want to use throughout the game. So I found that was a very good feature over the first game. Again, just having the little cosmetic stuff is very nice, and a lot of the outfits that you can find for Atreus and Freya don't change again to the armor that they have within combat, but it's just more of a cosmetic thing, and it's very cool how much there is for both of those characters to again just customize the way that they look to a way that's you might like more than the other. Yeah, it's just this huge open world that I highly recommend exploring because all of it's absolutely amazing and filled with lore, filled with amazing fights. Some of the best boss fights I've ever fought in a game, whether they be the secondary fights or the just main boss fights. It's definitely similar to Elden Ring in that way, where I definitely don't like. I recommend you do not skip any of the fights, whether they be optional or again to just you need to do them to get through the game. Absolutely amazing, very fun. The combat's so slick, so smooth, just bigger, better, faster than it was in the original. And of course, dude, being able to play as Atreus was something that I was really looking forward to, especially if they might eventually pass on the mantle to his character. I just really like the way that it went. Again, so in terms of the story, there's so many ways that it could go after this, and I'm very excited to see what they do for the next game, and I'm all here for it. I'm so excited for it, and I just can't wait for more God of War. When we're talking about the flaws of this game, there really isn't anything for me to mention that is major. I had a few bugs that were just little like funny things where Thor would like run just kind of funny in a lot of ways. Send an enemy into the air and they would just fall down a little slower than you think they should in a lot of ways. Clearing, I didn't clear a certain path at a certain point, but I could access it. So it just looked like Kratos was clipping through a wall at a certain point. So little things like that that are just funny little glitches, bugs. I didn't have a game breaking bug, but there was one point where it did basically saw me from progressing. I just wasn't getting the prompt that I needed to get to a certain place, and all that I needed to do to fix it was reload a save that set me back like 1 minute, and that's absolutely it. The checkpoints, everything like that in this game are very fair. There wasn't a point in time where I was pissed off at how far back it sent me into a fight. Very fair in terms of, again, just the save points and the low points that it would place you at. And yeah, that's really all that I can say about flaws of this game. It's the absolute most minimum things. The frame rate that I had was a perfect 120 the entire time that I played it. Absolutely amazing, incredible, so smooth. Never had frames drop, never had textures pop in at weird moments. Everything just felt and played so smooth and beautifully, and again too in ways that just I don't really think they could improve too much, except for again fixing these little bugs here and there that were more just funny things to laugh at than anything else. They didn't break the game at all or make me mad that it wasn't finished in that way. They're the tiniest little things. But truly, everything taken together, this is one of the most incredible video game experiences that I've ever had. one of the most incredible stories I've ever been told in any medium. I have to recommend it for absolutely everyone. Play the 2018 version, play Ragnarok, play all the old God of Wars, because this is one of the best video game franchises of all time. This game is absolutely fucking badass, friggin' amazing in every single way and sense of the world. It is phenomenal. It is flawless. It is a 10 out of 10 from me. I absolutely have to recommend it. It is, as of right now, my game of the year. I can't see Callisto Protocol or anything else coming out this year knocking it off, but what an absolutely incredible game. I absolutely loved it. It just expanded on the lore in ways that I thought was absolutely amazing. Maybe there could have been 3 games for this, but I feel like it would have just dragged out the story way too much in a lot of ways. Really focus on the characters in this way. That's what this game's all about, and it was absolutely amazing in that fact. Some of the most amazing boss fights ever, some of the most amazing moments ever. Kratos is the best video game father. No one can take that away from him now. Just incredible. Incredible cinematography. Just incredible cinematography, incredible fights. It's just, I'm never going to forget playing this game in so many ways. There are so many cool mechanics, like again, to Thor literally killing you the first time you fight him and then reviving you to keep fighting you. Things like that were just absolutely amazing. Being able to see again too just the events of Ragnarok, Thor hitting Jormungandr so hard that it teleports him back in time. Just so many things like that were absolutely amazing. It isn't completely accurate to Norse mythology. The biggest change would definitely have to be Fenrir, but again, you're just seeing Fenrir go crazy during Ragnarok was absolutely amazing. Love that so much. Made Fenrir a lot more personal to the characters of Kratos and Atreus in ways that were absolutely incredible. So much more lore that they expanded on the worlds, all the realms, Helheim, Vanaheim, Alfheim, Midgard, Asgard, all these places. Just absolutely incredible in every single way in terms of its scale. And again, too, just the perfect game, 10 out of 10. So if you play God of War Ragnarok, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up. And you can check out everything I do on this channel through a playlist down below. And I'll links up the top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do, well, if you want to go into the description of this video and my channel bio, there's a link to the Medium Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than this already. And yeah, just awesome, guys. Please go play God of War Ragnarok. Sky blue eyes, I see a world behind them. No more time sinking into the silence.